I am Neeson with THS, and I am here with the director, author, and producer of Clown in the Cornfield. Guys, before we start, I have to ask you, we are called That Hashtag Show, and so I like to ask people, what's the last hashtag you use that's not Comic-Con related?
Why don't you're a hashtag master.
I'm Mr. like book talk and all that stuff. So I got like my presets in like Instagram and so I probably book talk, bookstagram, that stuff, because like I have to link up the movie of the books and that's,
right.
Yeah.
I think it was probably just hashtag hiking. We were on a little hiking trip before we got here, and we were off in Kelowna, British Columbia. Oh, wow. Literally day before yesterday, hiking and.
We medevaced him out to get him down here.
Now we see it.
Bears chasing him up.
Well, I mean, that's interesting. So, because you talk about hiking, and I want to talk about inspiration for horror, but I always love asking directors specifically, do you get some sort of pleasure when people are driving their nails into the person they're sitting next to leg? And the thing that's going to happen on Shudder, August 8th, when the film hits on streaming, I just always love to know, like, is that your win?
That is such a win. And then, so my favorite people are people that are both really kind of nervous people, especially during horror movies. I make them watch it, like, and then also have a good laugh. Right.
Okay.
So, somebody who just can laugh very easily and be frightened very easily. They're my go-to people. My wife is over there, and I met her. She is both of those things. Mm-hmm. So, I make movies to just make her both scared and laugh. That's what I'm doing it for.
You got so many points, I'm sure. I'm sure that's a big win.
Also, my 10-year-old saw this film for the first time in theaters when we were releasing it, and it probably is a little young to see this movie. But you'd be surprised, kids these days. He was on like that, and he leaned over at one point, and he was so scared during the movie. And he said, "Dad, this is the most tense I've ever been watching a movie."
You're just like, yes.
That makes it all worthwhile.
Oh, and then just to finish that, he said at the end of it, he said, "I feel the sense of freedom after watching that film."
Really?
And that was like the best review I ever had.
That's actually really interesting. That's a great review. For you, Adam, writing the books, my first intro into horror, quote unquote, genre was Goosebumps.
Yes.
Right. So buying the Goosebump book, going to, the book fair and being scared.
We have a similar origin story.
Okay.
Yeah. Going to the book fair. Yeah. I love that kind of stuff. I love gateway horror. And these are books, even though it's older young people. Yeah. These are still books for young people. And I think the film is, that's what I'm so excited about streaming, is that like you made an R-rated movie out of a YA book. So it does cut out a lot of the people that love the books. Maybe couldn't. I mean, they had cool parents and cool people that snuck them in. Yeah, that snuck them in. They paid a guy $5 outside to be their parents. Like, so, but I'm so excited for that kind of target audience to get to see the film on streaming, where they don't have to be ID'd to go to the theater to see it. Just because that's very similar to you. I had Goosebumps posters. I was all about it. I just met R.L. Stein.
Right. That's amazing.
A month ago I Chris Farley showed out on him.
Yeah.
I was like, remember when you, and he's like, I know, I'm R.L. Stein. And my wife took a shaky picture of me.
It's all blurred. I swear that's him. And I love the idea of also parents watching it, and the kid's supposed to be asleep or something, and like comes out for water and then sees the moment of what's going on. Cause that's my history with horror. It's like seeing something in Texas Chainsaw Massacre and being like, what are they watching?
So I think it was Attack of the Killer Clowns. And my parents were watching. I kind of came around the corner, and I think it was a scene with the tongue like does something or something like that, whatever. And I remember that so vividly, and it was like, okay, I'm never watching horror until Goosebumps, until walking in and I saw the cover. And so have you had that thought that now you're introducing a new generation to this specific kind of horror and mixed with like a slasher? Because Goosebumps wasn't a slasher, right? So now you're bringing like this slasher horror, and now being adapted into film and on streaming. Just have you had a chance to take that in?
It sounds a little high-handed to say, because it's like, it's not that serious, but I do think about that. I think about that a lot, of like almost like the responsibility of writing for young people, and not just stories for young people, but stories to try to get young people into the genre I love. I mean, in a Suspiria shirt, this is my life. You know, we have very similar, like the Kyoto brothers, we have very similar upbringings about like what got us into this genre. And I want the books to be a hand reaching out and bringing kids into the horror. You know, it could be their first horror book they're reading. It's a little bit, I do see a little bit of responsibility to like make it be good and make it be something that makes them reach for the next horror book and the next horror book and the next horror book. Yeah.
I agree. And John, just being a producer and, you know, attaching yourself to this project, what was it about this project specifically and Killer Clowns? In a sense, I was going to say, a clown in a cornfield, you know,
the easiest project you could ever pitch because the idea of the movie is the title. So what could be clearer than that? And yeah, I mean, it's so much about like what Adam was talking about, the execution of the story. Yeah, exactly. The company I work for, we've done a lot of like young people stories, but haven't done a kind of like, you know, what's the horror?
We did like Twilight and stuff before, you know,
some like, you know, romance stuff and, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, smack
which
and
is
stuff.
Different.
So this is
but like, how do you tackle that in a horror way that feels like it tips its hat to that kind of audience, but also kind of, you know, I like what you said about like the responsibility of like trying to make it good and something that people haven't seen before. So Adam certainly did about the book, and then that's what Eli brought in the script and in the film.
Yeah, and just doing something that is not talking down to him. You're not being super cheesy or too light with it. And then I wanted to have a sense of like, oh, this is a gory film. Like this is going for it.
Yes,
but it's not torture. You know, it's just like, we're just going for it enough that it doesn't drive like a younger audience completely away.
Yeah, I wanted to speak about the pacing. I think that's what does that, right? The pacing of the film is just enough where a younger audience is always going to stay engaged in it because they see characters like them. They see the world like they see the world and the world in Clown in a Cornfield. But the killings, the murders. Now, I can ask, you know, what's your favorite? I could do all those things, but I really want to know what goes into actually sitting down and saying, I want this death scene to be like this. Like, what is that conversation like between just taking it from the book, you as a director, producer?
Well, I don't, you know, in a book, you're using your imagination pretty much entirely. And then you're like, I would say that's one area of the book that I kind of just was like, I'm going to do it a little different.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of
bonus kills. You swapped out all
machete kills and stuff. And so I was like, the first thing you start with are what are the tools around you, you know? Like it was when I did Tucker and Dale, for instance, it was like I had a wood chipper and I had a weed whacker. I had all the like work tools.
Right.
But I'm like, what kind of tools do you have at a corn farm? You know, well, you're going to have a pitchfork and you're going to have a scythe and you're going to have machetes and you're going to have... So, and in this case, you have a weightlifting bar because somebody's working out. But so you start with that and then you sit with a storyboard artist who thinks you're insane and is terrified of you because as he sketches these things out, like, can we show it just decapitating him and then blood spraying out? He's like, and I'm like, more blood. And he's just like drawing like this. And then you bring those storyboards in and you start describing them to your art department and everybody, and they think you're insane. And then your producer looks at you and they're like, more blood, Eli.
Back to the storyboards.
Back to the storyboards. But you start with that process, and then you're just like, how much can we afford to do? And there's a little bit of back and forth with the budget. We had a big car chase scene at one point that you did not want to give up on. And I appreciated that. But I was like, John, if we don't give up on the car chase, we're not going to get the rest of it with our budget. So that's kind of when I came up with that Katie couldn't drive stick, that Quinn couldn't drive stick.
So there couldn't be a car chase.
There couldn't be a car chase scene, and that's why she got abducted that way.
Well, kudos to a smart producer right there for sticking to it, but then you guys figuring a way around it. So that means we could get the car chase in part 2 then, right?
Budget?
Sure.
I mean,
it's mostly a car chase. It's actually Mad Max Fury Road, Friendo. Friendo Road, yeah.
Friendo Road. Oh, yeah, actually, that's the part 2 name. It's Friendo Road.
I've been wanting to do an action film for a while, so this is a $50 million action film.
Yes. We win. The fans win, guys. My last question is, we're at Comic-Con, and there's a lot of fandoms here. So we like to ask, what's your fandom hot take?
Oh, jeez. What does that even mean? Adam, I don't even know what that means.
So this is actually great. Yesterday, we were at a fandom party, and a couple of examples we got was Superman is not a great superhero? Because, and then they went on blah, blah, blah. And it was really a surprise. We were shocked. We were like, okay. And then it was like, Superman is the most amazing superhero because he has all the powers to be the perfect person, but he feels empathy, and empathy is the most human thing, you know? And so just that's the level of like hot takes we were getting back and forth. And it really sparked a lot of conversation. So we're just continuing to ask, you know, what's your fandom high in any fandom, you know?
I got one actually. I got one because I know we were here at Comic-Con, and I love comics. I've written comics. I've done everything you can do at comics. I've been a comic reader and a comic collector my whole life. And I know that I'll talk to other professionals, other writers, and they'll almost bemoan that Comic-Con has become a multimedia event and a multi-fandom event. And I would argue that I'm pro it being a multi-fandom event because I'll give an example. I'm a huge, I'm mainly a horror fan, but my next fandom that I'm very passionate about is Warhammer 40K. Oh. And I've seen 5 incredible Warhammer cosplays here, and I've gotten a picture with every single person in a Warhammer thing. So I love that I can come and experience it all. I love that I can come and enjoy every facet of the fandoms, because we all have multiple fandoms we belong to. There's like an overlapping sphere. That's what I like about Comic-Con. And that's my hot take is that that's a good thing. You know? That's a great hot take. Even as someone who loves comics. Yeah, that's a great hot take because that is a active narrative that's going around.
I have no idea. My hot take's going to be that Sonic is more than a video game movie.
Ooh.
That it's bigger, that it's actually one of the greatest franchises in existence because of what they've done with it.
I can completely agree with that, to be honest with you. That's actually a really good one. See, you said you didn't have one. You said you didn't have one. You put one out. That was actually a
dog love on this interview, but I love it.
That's great. And then
I don't know if I have a good hot take. I will say I just got off the train and like just walked here like right before this, and like having Comic-Con and the crowds like wash over you, it's like fucking great. Like it's like we need the fandom is like that there are these hot takes, that there are these debates. It's just like keep them coming because this is like it's a weird topsy-turvy like media landscape at the moment, and the more fans come out, the more it's like the more creators can continue to create. Like it's a ecosystem that goes back and forth. So grateful for the fans.
I really love that these like movies are becoming more of an event.
Yeah.
And you can see like Clown in a Cornfields getting the activation that it is because it has this like event. There's something to do with it. Right?
Yes.
And I think there's this merging a little bit, especially theatrically and with IMAX, where you're starting to get more creative with film as a means of entertainment in like a dynamic, eventful way.
Some people say theaters are back, but I would say the next evolution of what the theater experience has now just begun. Like I really feel that, and it continues on Shudder, August 8th, where you can see Clown in the cornfield, and just make sure you sleep with the lights on.
Hell yeah.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.